Hey everyone, welcome to a Liftoff PM interview lesson. My name is Kevin Wei, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 Google Product Manager interview questions that you should prepare for. So with us is Mark. Mark, do you want to give a quick intro?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Rose. I've been a product manager for many years, and I was a product manager and product manager interviewer at Google for many, many years. And what I've done in the past, I've literally helped hundreds of product managers prepare for interviews on questions just like this.
Now, before we get into the top 10 Google PM interview questions, I do want to say that if you're enjoying this PM interview lesson and you want to support this channel, just hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. It's a free way to show support. It really makes a difference. So thanks in advance. Now let's get into the top 10 questions. Back to you, Mark.
For the top 10 questions at Google, and first, congratulations on interviewing at Google. It's an awesome place to work. So I like to think of this as kind of a product management interview. It's kind of like a giant skyscraper, which is like 100 stories tall. The first 10 stories are about product strategy. We'll go in each one of these, right? Product strategy is around big picture items. It's, markets, it's, regulatory environments. It's like the biggest picture things you can do. The next kind of like from floor 89 to kind of floor 50 is product design. This is like how you actually make products, how you make it for markets, how you design them, how you build them, how you launch them. And it's core product design. And then the next 50 floors from about floor 49 to 0 are really the role of craft and execution. And this is the day-to-day. This is what everyone's familiar with. Is like, this is what you do every day. Go in, get work done, get stuff done. So as we go through this, I want to talk about the skyscraper as we go through these various questions. Okay, so let's start with product strategy question, right? So product strategy really is big picture. And when you think Google, it's really a global company, right? I mean, they are literally thinking on a planetary scale. They have offices in literally every company on the planet, and they're very mission and primitive driven. You literally can't think big enough. So how do you prepare for this? So one is read their annual report, listen to their quarter earnings reports. The key frameworks that you'll want to use here are things like SWOT analysis, orders by forces, and also just as a mention, try not to conflate this, again, with that big skyscraper with design and insights. Product strategy and is a league on its own. So what are some example questions? So question number 1, should Google go into healthcare, right? Classic product strategy question. Don't be surprised if you actually get this question, right? You can use Porter's 5 forces, you can use SWOT analysis, but you really want to dive into this question and tease it out from a number of different directions. This leads to question number 2, another product strategy question. Should Google buy Uber, right? Now, of course, there's many types of questions, and I'm not implying that Google is going to buy Uber, but it's a good example about how you can think and act like a CEO, and that's your job in the product strategy questions, which is to think big and be really strategic about how you answer questions. Okay, moving on. Product design and insights. This actually, I think, is probably the heart of the Google interview process, and how you do on the product design and insights questions, I would say is probably 50% of your score, right? It's really, really important. So what does it do? This tests your product instincts and how you think about actually designing a product. It's really important to ask good questions. It's really important to follow a great design framework. You're going to need solid market segmentation. You really want to really dive into the shoes of your customers and show empathy, right? And then when you're coming up with a solution, you want to be creative, you want to be bold, you want to be imaginative. This is really hard to do, so you're going to want to practice this a lot. So what are some sample questions? Question number 3, how would you improve Google Maps, right? So just like those other questions, right? You want to think about this question, how does it relate to Google's mission? What are the goals? What are the market segments? Google Maps meets a lot of segments, right? What are the problems? How do you craft a solution? And then how do you roll it all up together? That makes for a great design question. These design questions will take you about 25 minutes to answer thoroughly, and they're great questions. Another question that Google will ask is, how would you improve commercial air travel, right? Very open-ended question, right? And you want to apply the same design thinking toward this. It's like, well, what do we mean by commercial air travel? Are we talking about just the US? What markets? Are we talking about, are we talking about private? Are we talking about commercial? You know, what type of subsegments we're talking about? And then just kind of break it down and break it down and break it down and think about how you can actually reinvent commercial air travel. This has actually nothing to do with Google at all. And you'll find 90% of these questions are Google related, but you will get some questions that aren't related to Google that will just test your product management chops on design. The next question, question number 5, and you could expect to get this question, which is, what's your favorite product? And the great thing about this question is you should have this canned. You should think about this in advance, you should have it written down, and you should have this product canned. And there's another video that talks more about this. The thing I like to stress about this question is this allows you to show your craft and product management and how much you can appreciate good product. Kind of like how a sommelier appreciates good wine. This is your chance to show you, like, I am such a good product manager that I can appreciate a product down to its tiny, tiny, tiny details and appreciate the sophistication and nuance behind it. So tip, find a product that has some meat to it, something that has some sophistication. Those are great products to love.
I think also if you're interviewing for a role like Google, you might get a question around, tell me about a product that you dislike, or maybe tell me about a product in Google that you enjoy. I think I've also seen variations where the interviewer asks you to pick 3 to 5 products in your daily life, and then they might want you to dive really deep into one of them and talk about why you enjoy or why you like that one product. So there's a lot of twists to this particular problem, but in general, they're all around this like favorite product essence.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Next category, craft and execution and analytics. I kind of put this into one bucket. And again, this is that next 50 stories, right? What this is testing is how you would actually perform your day-to-day product management at Google. In short, can you get shit done, right? These questions are designed to get into the weeds and see if you can actually meet the demands of day-to-day work at Google. The good news is, since this is what most of us do on a day-to-day basis anyways, expect to get super tactical and really show off your craft. So what are some examples? Question number 6, YouTube stories are down by 10% today. What do you do, right? Now, this is kind of a classic question, and this is a fun question because it's really a role-playing question, right? They're going to say, well, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to look at this. You want to look at goals, you want to look at metrics, and then the product manager is going to throw little bombs at you, little questions. And so it's very much a role play. So have fun, engage, be in the war room, be in the war zone, and really engage in these questions. And you'll do really, really well. The more technical you can get and the more you can dive in and just have a good time with these. Similar question, question number 7. How do you measure success for Google Meet? Right? Classic analytical question. You want to think about Google's mission. You want to think about the goals. Maybe you want to think about Meet as a goal, as a product, and think about like, well, how would I define the success? How would I look at adoption and engagement and quality and kind of break those up and define them down and really get into some fun and how you would actually define it, like you would do any product on your own. Next type of question, question number 8. This is an estimation question. Estimate the number of restaurants in San Francisco. This is actually one of my most favorite types of questions, and I think it scares most people, especially engineers, because the real trick behind this question is having a simple framework with simple variables to come up with an estimate, right? What you don't want to do is try and be actually correct. What you do want to do is show that you're willing to tolerate a high amount of ambiguity. You do want to show that you can take something complex and make it simple, like just 2 or 3 variables. That's it. And then what you do want to do is show that you can come up with an answer and then admit it's completely wrong. But the beautiful part is, if you spend a whole bunch of time, you could probably get it right. But in the purpose of a 10-minute answer to this type of question, you can come up with a quick estimate. And believe it or not, this question is fabulous. Even for day-to-day working at Google, I used to use this all the time.
If I were to jump in real quick here, Mark, especially for these craft and execution and analytical questions, I think the thing that separates a sort of junior PM from a senior PM is senior PMs know when to pull in the right people to get the right information. So talk about how you might work with cross-functional partners, how you might lean on design and engineering and data science for particular tasks, especially for that first, the 6th question you talked about, Mark, like YouTube stories are down by 10% today. What do you do? Who are the cross-functional partners you would work with? Because as a PM, you're not operating in a vacuum. You're operating with a team.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. So the last question is behavioral. And the interesting thing is, this doesn't really exist on that product management tower that I talked about, but this really kind of tests who you are as a human. Google actually calls this googliness. And yes, that's a real word, and you can actually Google it. What does it mean? It means that you're actually human. You're authentic, you're conscientious, you're respectful, you're humble, you're intellectually honest, you're empathetic, you're curious, you're fun. It means a lot of interesting things. It tests how you work well with others. And for these types of questions, all the behavioral questions, you want to keep them short, typically under 5 minutes. Use a STAR framework. And above all, I always usually like to lend, especially at Google, is, and what I learned was, and then describe the learning you had from a question. So a couple questions you might get. Question number 9, tell me about a time when you disagreed with your engineering lead. This happens all the time. As product managers, I love my engineering lead and I hate him at the same time, and we constantly conflict with each other. How do we manage that, right? And how do we get through it on a day-to-day basis? Great application of the STAR framework, great application to show how you all work with others. Another question similar to that is, and you can expect this question, tell me about yourself, right? So Google's really interesting, right? So Google has a lot of people who are really smart, really accomplished, amazing academic credentials, amazing professional credentials. But to me, like, it's really about being human, right? So talk about how you're fun. Talk about how you enjoy doing different things. Talk about how you're kind of quirky. Show about how those things help you be a great product manager. And those authentic questions really puts you in a case of like, wow, I really want to go have a beer with this product manager because they're a lot of fun. And that's where you want to be. And then I'm going to give you one last bonus question, and you should definitely expect this, which is, why do you want to work at Google? This is a really important question. Almost all of Google questions, the best answers lie in the heart of the mission. So you really want to study Google's mission, really resonate with that. Think about why you want to work at Google from a very primitive, guttural, authentic level. Those are our bonus questions for today. So thank you for listening to this video. If you want to learn more, check out the links below. And if you want to start your interview prep, you're definitely going to want to invest in some coaching and help with mock interviews. If you found this helpful, you can find me at productbymark.com.
Awesome. And for the viewers at home, good luck with your upcoming interviews. I hope this was helpful. And subscribe and stay tuned for more Liftoff PM interview prep content.